Right, I've decided I'm going for it. I am going to bring this portal forward. I've got another single one I had laying around, so it's going to probably go somewhere there. This is all really solid, so it'd be too much hassle to take that out, so I think I'm just going to build over it. It's a better angle. It does look like it's shooting straight now and you can't see the curve. Obviously I'll probably use this old one, put it somewhere there just to create a lining, so I can get a lining in just to hide it all as well. So I am going to work out this, cut this out. I've got my scalpel, should hopefully be able to mark it just like that and then cut it out. So let's give this a go. That's the area roughly cut out, so let's see if it slots in. Which it does. It gives quite a nice finish there actually. However, there's much to gap this side compared to that, so it's going to have to go over probably only about a mil and a half, so I'll just slightly widen that one and give it a nudge back. So I'm quite happy with that. Now I can see the extent of what we need to do. I'm gonna have to try and get a wing in there somehow. Be really tight, and that's gonna have to be a really sharp cutting, but then this will come up over here, up high here, and all the way. So it's a start. I do want to create a tunnel lining for this, so that'll go off, and it obviously always looks better when you've got a lining in there. So what I am going to do, I think I mentioned, I've got this sacrificial tunnel that I butchered, so it's no good. I'm probably going to put that somewhere there, and that'll just create a guide. So I've got some Metcalf brick paper or brick card. I'm going to be able to put it in there and it'll sit on the inside of that, and I'll be able to glue it, and that'll create the shape. But for the front, I don't want it to come out onto this edging. It needs to sit flush just behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of this PVC board, and I'm going to glue a piece on the back. But what I'll do, I've cut it so it's a couple of mil short, so that gives a good edge to be able to sit something on to build up. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace round that, but then I'm going to cut it slightly bigger and then glue that in place, and that'll create a lip where I can sit the card onto. The card, because it's card and it's a bit like that, it will bow, so I'll put some strengtheners down each side and that should keep it in place, but that should give me a really good tunnel lining then. So that's kind of the idea. That's your back of your tunnel mouth. I mean, I've cut it as best I can freehand. I know it's not brilliant. I'll just maybe have to file a couple of bits, but that will stick there. And then when I bend the card in, it'll sit in that little recess, that ridge there, and then that'll just clamp over it. Slightly narrower, but you're not going to notice at the back of the tunnel. Okay, that's the main structure for the tunnel done. Lined with the Metcalf paper inside, as you can see. It's when you look down. Couple of strengtheners each side just to keep that card, stop it from bowing, and one on that side. And then I've just glued on the back this old cut off, this sacrificial piece of tunnel. That just keeps it square, nice and flat. So when you put it on there and look down, you can see that'll be ready to go in place, and hopefully that should cover all the track inside and make it look like it's a full tunnel. I've had to cut a bit of the old embankments out, but just to allow it to fit with the side pieces in, but obviously it would all be covered anyway, so hopefully that should slot in position quite well. So that doesn't look too bad. Obviously I'll be able to get in there, just put some ballast in, and we'll just build a little bit up in front here. Well, that's kind of the tunnel in position. I don't know if you can see through there. So what I'll be able to do now is build it all up. Not decided what I'm going to do for that part, but it will come from here, it will come up. I'm going to leave that, cover it, but where that wall is from there, if you can see, it'll start to come up quite high and over here. I kind of got an idea in my head. It probably don't make much sense now, but just thinking what I'm going to use. I have got an old roll of chicken wire in the garage, so that might be easier to create a frame and then put some paper mache and other bits on top of it. I did order a big selection of trees to go on this tunnel hillside. They've arrived. I'm a bit surprised just how plasticky they look though. Wasn't probably quite expecting that, as you can see. So I have just started trying to make them look a bit more realistic. So I've been painting the trunks with some brown, I think I can't remember which brown it was, but a brown anyway, just to tone down that plastic. Then I've started just spraying them with layering spray and putting some of my own foliage on them. So that's how they were out of the box, and that's what I've been able to turn them into. I think they look a bit more realistic. I don't like them as much as the ones I've made myself from the sea foam, but definitely better than they were. So hopefully I'm going to have a good selection of about 20 or 30 trees to be able to get on that hillside when it's done. There they are, just all drying off nicely from where I've been spraying everything on them. Well, with the tunnel in place, I've been ripping all the walling out now, just to see what I've got to play with and how I'm going to make this work. I'm going to use chicken wire because I think it will be easier to mould. Somehow it's got to come from here and come up high, build up high this way. It's just how I get this transition right here really. This is going to be a really steep face, whether I try and do a rock face or something on there, because it is going to be quite steep, and then bring it up. I'm just toying with how I'm going to make that look natural. Maybe this has got to come up a bit, but a bit of progress, bit of a mess really, but you know, got to make a mess to get somewhere, I suppose. I've just cut some chicken wire roughly to size, ready to do over this area. I've just started to staple it along the front there with this heavy duty stapler, then I can mould it up. I've put some battens on the back so I can staple it into there and get it shaped. It may need some supports underneath with it being a big area just to hold it roughly in place. And then I can start to cut it around here just to see how we can get it to shape. I still don't think this area is quite right. I want it to start here actually. I want it to be a lot higher because it's too much of a uniform slope there. So I'm peeling the wall back. The wall's probably going to curl somewhere there, and the hill's going to come up higher. So I'll get a bit more work done, just scraping off all the old scenery. Then I'll start to build this up so it comes up more to there. So it's coming off quite easy, shouldn't be too difficult to do. Whether I use a bit more chicken wire or I just build it up with some of the insulation board, I've not quite decided yet. I've just given this hillside a coat of brown, cheap brown acrylic, not because I think it's finished, but I do find that when you paint it and cover up all the different bits of newspaper and the paper mache, you get a better idea of the terrain and does it look right. So quite pleased, got some terrain going on here, some, you know, dips, valleys and some humps. I think across here it is very steep, and unintentionally I've created a bit of an overhang there, so I don't know if that's calling out maybe to have some bit of a rock, you know, rock face, cliff face on there. Something I've never attempted or tried before. I know there's lots of videos out there, so I might have a look and decide, with that being steep in the cutting, would a rock face probably suit it, and build it up to the little overhang and then seeing it the rest. I've just lined this ruler up parallel with the line that goes in there now, so it does hopefully appear that that line is going straight. You can't see the curve because it's that much further round, so hopefully it's a bit better effect to what it was. It does look like that line's continuing off there under the hillside that's been built up, so I'm hoping it's better than it was before. I still not thought about, should I build this hill here? If it was all natural, would they have cut all this out, or would that hill have carried up and then they just cut enough out for the two tracks? So again, a bit of a cutting. So I could maybe put something in there. Still a bit undecided. Right, so back on the layout, back on this corner, which shouldn't really be a priority, but I keep coming back to it. As you know, I've built all this up. I just painted that grey just to see would it look all right with maybe a rock face on there. I'm just conscious it's very close to this track. And then I thought another mad brain idea is maybe a small tunnel for these two lines, but it'd be from there to about there, which in reality is about 70 yards. So probably would that be a bit unrealistic. So I thought about putting these two in there and have another one of those at that end, but that's really short, and I don't know if it would look right. So I'm thinking back to my original plan is take all this up, this hillside here, continue this up. So I'll put some foam boards in there, build it up, and then just create a cut in that side, just so it kind of more follows that. So I think I'm going to rip all this up and then just play around, take the fencing up and just reorganise this corner. Clearance is tight, so I don't think I'd get away with using any of those like plaster moulds. So I might just have to think about what else I can do as an alternative to make it look realistic, if anything I can do. Well, I'm hoping 2 layers should be enough of this insulation board. I roughly shaped the first one before I glued it down just to try and match the contour of that hillside there. And then when I come across to this side, looking if I imagine the contour still, it matches quite nicely with that. So I 2 will be enough. I've stuck the second one on and I'm going to carve it into shape once it's glued overnight. So I'll leave that weighted down, come back tomorrow and have a look and see if I can start to shape it. That's the hillside form pretty much shaped and complete. This has had paper mache, it's still wet so I can't get any paint on there. So the overall shape's there. I'm still not sure on this bit. As you know, I'm going to look at making my own rock face for there. I'm also considering putting a rock face in there and then also on the inside edge. So I've got some ideas how I'm going to make that myself, which I'll probably show in the next video. See how I get on with that. But I think for now that's it for this week. I'm going to give it some time to dry. The weather looks like it's going to be mild. It's what are we on? It's Valentine's Day today, so tomorrow it looks like it's going to be really mild. So I'm going to try and spend a bit of time in the garden, and then we'll come back to this maybe at the weekend.